Okay, so I believe where we stopped was relinking the pivot table to the right data source. Now, that can be a challenge you will face, most likely. If you are not linking your pivot table to the right data source, you're going to have issues, major issues. So like this is what we have here. I'm going to change this particular chart type. So let's have a look at product inventory. So we need the status and price point. I think no, available stock. Yes, available stock and status. Because this point, it is when your available stock falls below certain level that shows you available stock, reordering needed, or out of stock if it is zero here, like in the case of this. So on your dashboard, in this case, we already have the product's name. So we can have the available stock in the values. Now that's because it needs to be calculated, showing you this particular product has 60, this has 10, this has 0, and then this has 20. Alternatively, we can remove the status column from there and then put the status in row. Now, I don't want you to get confused with this. Just see it like, first thing first, you need to know what you want to visualize. I want to show the total number of available stock that I have, the total number of stock that are due for reordering, and then the total number of stock that are out of stock or products that are out of stock. So in that, anything that doesn't require calculation stays in the row. Please take note. Then anything like numbers that requires calculation that needs to be viewed in line with what is in the row stays in the values. So in that case, available stock is number, so it stays in the value. But we want to check it based on it is status, because status is not number. If you check your data, status is all text. So that stays in the row. So in this case, this kind of data can be represented using a pie chart. Now, when going with the pie chart, what happens, I can come here, insert a chart. Now, Google Sheet is asking you to select your range because you've not given it a data to work with. So now what you are going to do is set your data range. Currently, what's there is F32. So you can see this is F32, and you can see it's empty. So I'm going to change this F32 to point to this. So in order to do that, whenever you want to set your data range, always use this window here. You can see select data range. So when you click on this, it opens up, you delete what's there, and select what you want to use. You see I didn't select the grand total because it's not necessary. If I decide to include the grand total, if I decide to include the grand total in my data and I click on OK, now this is a pie chart. You can see the grand total will always be higher than everything. That's because it's a combination of every other figures in your table. So you always remove the grand total in your analysis. And for you to do that, you can click on the pivot and remove show total. You see where they say show total here. So you remove this. So you can see it's now showing you the actual visualization of this. But this doesn't really tell us a lot or more about this analysis. So we're going to change the type from a bar chart to a pie chart. So when you double click on the chart, it opens up for you to begin to manipulate. So you can click on this. Now you see different chart type that you can use. I can use this, I can use this, I can use this. So let's pick on this. So you can see it's simply showing you that 80% of our stock is due for reordering. And sorry, we have more stock that are not, okay, we have more available stock. 10% or 11.1 is due for reordering. Now, if I come to my data, which is this, and let's assume we now restocked this product. So I change it to 40. So we now have available stock. But only one product needs to be reordered. Your dashboard is going to reflect that change. So your available stock is now 120, and your reordering stock is just about 7%. So we can keep this. Now, after you are done with your pivot table, we can now drag the tables. Now, please take note, when you move your pivot table, it's also going to affect your visuals. You can see here. And the reason is because when we were putting or drawing these visuals, we selected this range, but now we've moved it from here to here. So we have to recalibrate our range. So we simply come, double click on this, and then reset the range here. Delete this, click on this, come here, and select this, and click OK. So you can see it's back again in view. Now, another very interesting thing you can do with this data is introduction of slicers. Slicers helps you to filter your data. So if you want to add a slider to this report, you can come down to data, add a slicer. Now, the slicer asks you for what data do you want me to slice, or what data do you want me to work with? Currently, we are using what we have in the dashboard. Now, if you check in our analysis, we ran an analysis on product inventory and sales order. So we can choose any of them. We can come here and then select a range. Let's say the sales order. We pick sales order 1, and you can all see it here. This is it, sales order. If you check on the name here, you see sales order 1, which is this. And that was already selected here. And I say, okay. So automatically, this slicer have been configured to deal with your sales column. So in that case, you can see everything that the slicer can work on is by the side. So I can click on this and select what I want the slicer to slice. So I can say, select the slicer, double click on it to bring out your columns. And I can say it should give me by product. So I can say product. So in that case, when you click on the slicer, it gives you the list of all the products. I can clear all and select only this product and click OK. So you can see this product alone out of $300,000 gave us 65,000, and it's just one unit product. And available stock for this product is 130, and you can see other analysis of this product here. And if I don't want to slice that again, I can click here and select all of them and click OK. So it gives you back everything on your sheet. Now take note again, this is not the final dashboard for this project. Final dashboard will be done using Google Data Studio. But for the test you'll be writing over the weekend, you are going to do analysis by formulas and then analysis by pivot tables. These are the two areas you are going to be concentrating on for the Saturday's test. And that's why I am having a brush up on pivot tables and slicers. So I could decide to copy the slicer, copy slicer, right click anywhere and paste, Control V to paste it here. I'm still slicing the same data. And I can change from product, double click on the slicer. Now I don't want product. I want this particular slicer to show me status. So in that case, now if you check, the data that is being referred to by this slicer is different from the data that is being referred to by this slicer. Because status in the sales order, okay, I think it's correct. Yes, it's correct. Received, accepted, in progress, shipped, and delivered. So this is it. So if I want to see all the products that are shipped, I can clear everything and select ship. And I say, okay. So you can see this, only one product is shipped, and that product is SIC. Now, if you check, it's not affecting this chart. And that's because the data that this chart is working with is product inventory. So in that case, if you want to control this chart, you have to change or maybe add a third slicer to your filter. So I can copy and paste. But in this case, I'm going to change the, I'm going to change the data to product inventory. So when you double click on this, you can see it's still showing sales order. So I'm going to change it from sales order here to inventory product. So in this case, I'm selecting inventory, product inventory. You can see it here, and I click OK. So automatically, this is now selecting product inventory. So I can decide now that I want to see the status, product status, which is this. So in this case, you can see, I want to see stock that are available for available stock. And I say, okay. So you can see this one has shown me the products that are available. So that's how you work with pivot table and your data. By the time we will meet next on this project, it will be the completed version that you will be seeing, not on Google Sheet, but on Google Data Studio. Now let's also deal with formatting of your sheet, because it's also something I'm going to check in the course of your test. So let me open up my drive and pick any random data. Let me pick this. Now, when you are working on a data project, presentation is as important as your analysis. Because if you do a very excellent analysis and your presentation is nothing to write home about, you'll be scored. you'll be scored bad or low. Let me just pick this nested if statement. Okay, so now if you look at this document is already formatted. As you can see, it's already formatted. Formatted in terms of color. But there are still a couple of things you can do to this document to make it look more appealing to the eyes. Take, for instance, now if I select the whole sheet by clicking on the edge here, I can decide to increase the size of the row to make it more readable. At the same time, I can decide to give more room for the columns. To have something like this. Now, if you check H, you can see H is aligned to the right. F is aligned to, the header is aligned to the left. The words are aligned to the right, so it is scattered. So you're going to select everything and make sure that your alignment, if you are aligning to the right, to the left, everything should move to the left. If you are doing center, everything should move to the center. It makes your work clean to the eyes to look at. So let's push it by the side. So that is fine. Again, if you have your data like this, you can also decide to choose a color scheme for your data. If I select this and decide to make it a kind of a color, I can come down to format, go to alternating colors. Now, alternating colors gives you options. You can see this is yellow, this is purple header. So when I'm okay, I can say done. But take note, you can see the range. The range is always selected, A to L. That's from column A to column L. So when you're done, you click done. So you can see this is the same data. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about is using bold and italics. Some of you just, some letters will be bigger than others. It is advisable, yes, for headers, the headers can be bold. So you can select only row 1 and make it bold. you don't have to increase, okay, you can increase the size to make it look like a heading. This is 13, this is 14. Now your header should not be more than 12 to 14. Yes. Don't make your header, in terms of the table, I'm talking about when you are working with tables now. Most likely, I leave my headers at 12. So if you want to, maybe you want to zoom it so that you can see, you can now use the zoom and zoom to 150 so that you can see what you want to see. Else, it's fine this way. So you can see this is presentation. Now, during your analysis, if you want to analyze this data, I've given you a list of questions. If your sheet is going to be too crowded, such that it's not going to look pleasing to the eyes, you can move your analysis in different sheets. Anyway, I'm going to specify that all the analysis you should do should not be more than 5 sheets. So even if you want to create, try as much as possible to limit the number of sheets, except necessary. If you can put your analysis in 1 sheet, it's always advised you do that. And again, based on the analysis, because if you want it as a report, in reading Excel or Google read from top to bottom, left to right. Now on this data, it's not advisable